Hello AI Seeking the Truth. Before we get started with this video, I would like to ask you all a favor. Reach down, hit the subscribe, and then select the bell and select all to get all of our latest updates coming to this channel that is growing so fast, guys. I want to keep you all over here, and that way we have the best audience out there, guys, the best subscribers. And let's get into this one. My name is Nina Warnier. I live in Limburg. That is the most southern province of the Netherlands. I'm 20 years old, and all my life I've been wanting to work as a caretaker for people with a disability. Just a few months ago, my dream came true, and now I work as a full-time caretaker at a living facility in Maastricht. At this facility, my story takes place. The living facility is positioned just outside of Maastricht City, and before the building became a housing facility, it was a laundromat for the people living on the street. The facility consists of 3 livings on that street. There is 3 houses that are internally connected. Each house can house 8 people. That makes a total of 24 patients that live in the facility. Each patient has his or her own room, ranging from a small to a large to a separate bathroom and kitchen to a shared bathroom on the hallway. I first started working at this facility when I was just 17 years old, as an intern for my education. The story started 2 years ago when one of the patients that had lived there for 3 years moved out to live at another facility. His family claimed that the patient did not feel safe in his room because he would hear knocking coming from his closet. We made our apologies for the inconvenience, but it didn't think that much of it. 1 month later, when the room was cleaned and disinfected, a new patient came to live in the empty room. It was an elderly man who I'll just call Rick for privacy reasons. Rick was a warm and kind-hearted man who always loved talking about the horses he had as a child and his great love for Russian opera. You'd always catch him sneaking into the kitchen to get a snack or hear him sing opera. I must admit, he was quite a powerful voice, and a wonderful voice at that. At first, he would bid us a good night before he went to bed, but as time progressed, Rick seemed more and more distressed. He didn't eat and drink as much as he used to, and he lost weight, and it was at a troubling speed. He'd sit quietly on the couch, staring blankly at nothing. When asked what was wrong, he'd say he had had a terrible nightmare of some kind of creature lurking in his closet. My colleagues and we debated whether or not he could be getting Alzheimer's and would need testing for it. He had been tested, but nothing came out of the tests. Every night, Rick would scream us awake, and when we came into the room, he'd be sitting on his bed trembling and pointing at his closet. He'd say that something crawled out of the closet and joined him in his bed. He described the creature as being skinny, even bony, with rotting meat hanging from its bones. The creature had green eyes, the same color as his deceased mother, and his huge fingers that ended in claws. The creature's face was that of a human skull, with the green eyes being nothing more than small lights in a mouth that was filled with sharp teeth, like a crocodile, he described. The creature would lay next to him in his bed and wrap its claws around his body. Rick described vividly how he could smell the horrible scent of the decaying body as the creature opened his mouth to whisper in his ear. "Get out. This is not your home." Rick would cover his ears as he said, and he would urinate himself. Poor Rick. My colleagues checked the closet, but there was nothing there, and the only thing we could say was that everything was going to be fine. Fast forward about a month later, and Rick would wake up with markings all over his body. Deep scratches that looked like claw marks, bite marks, deeper and more animal-like than any human bite. Rick would not want to go to his room anymore, and he'd just bring his dinner to his room and place it at the door of the closet. My colleagues would take away the food, much to Rick's horror. He'd say that we would make the creature angry, and if the creature was hungry, it would punish him. I still feel very sorry for him, especially seeing the fear in his eyes, as we scolded him and took away the plate. 2 weeks of the same happenings, and one of the colleagues, one of my favorite friends, were working the night shift. We were making our usual rounds, checking if everyone was sleeping and if all the machinery were still up and running, when we heard a horrible, bone-chilling scream echo through the building. The scream, you guessed it, came from Rick's room. We stormed in, throwing the door open hard, revealing a horrible sight. Rick was laying on his back on his bed while he was gasping for air, while he clawing at his chest and his neck, ripping the flesh off, making bloody gashes all over his body. His bed and himself were covered in blood, and there was nothing there, just a trace of blood leading to his closet, which was slightly open. My colleagues dialed 112 while I desperately tried to stop Rick from clawing himself. The only thing Rick did was scream, as if he was possessed. And he was staring directly at the ceiling with his eyes so large it looked like they were going to pop out, his mouth wide open. After what seemed like forever, the ambulance came and took Rick away. 1 week later, we received the sad news that Rick had died from blood loss. The room, once again, was empty. The blood was cleaned up by the cleaning company, and the room would be occupied soon enough. But even before the room was occupied, I found another patient standing in the room in front of the closet. And I said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I'd ask her as I walked into the room. The patient had stared at me and muttered, "This room should not be occupied ever again. It is angering him." And I said, "Who's him?" I'd asked with a shaky voice. "You know who I mean." I said, "Who?" And she said, "The devil who lived in the closet," after she said that she walked out of the room and left me breathless. 2 weeks later, and that same patient moved into the room. The exact reason I couldn't remember, all I do know is that she too changed. She got where she would sit in her bed, stare at the front of the closet, and say that she was talking to the devil. I don't know what's going on at my work, but strange things keep happening to her, and I know that I am going to resign soon, but I love my job, but I cannot take this because now she is starting to get scratch marks on her body, and she's feeding her plates to the closet. What is going on here, guys? Any help would be greatly appreciated. Wow. Well, honestly don't know. I mean, if it's eating the food, it would make you think that it was physical, but I don't think it's eating the food since they're finding the plates full of food and removing them. Is it an offering, maybe, that they're making to it with their food? That would be freaky. I'm not sure, guys. You'll have to give her, your opinion on this one. This is something I'm not sure about at all. But again, guys, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It's our new channel, so you may not be subscribed. Ring that bell, select all, so you get all of our latest notifications, guys. And thank you for helping this channel grow also. And we'll see you on the next one.